Let's move on to 4A now. East Noble, the first time around, absolutely dominated Leo. It was in week 5. It was a 35-7 game. Leo did not score a touchdown offensively, if I remember, in that ball game. 14-7 this time around against Leo last week, and now they're facing a Mississinewa team that beat a pretty good Marion team last week. So how do you see East Noble coming away with a victory? Again, they're another team that has to make a fairly sizable road trip when they travel over to Mishawaka on Friday.
So many teams we've seen haven't been able to match up with the athleticism and talent of the East Noble offense all season long, yet we saw a Mississinewa team be able to match up with a Marion squad with a lot of offensive talent last week, a Marion team that at one point was #1 in the state in Class 4A. So not saying that Mississinewa can come out and slow down East Noble enough to beat them, but I also think it's a game that you're dangerous to overlook going to the Indians because I think they've proven in that sectional 20 that they're a pretty solid football team.
Here's one stat when I was looking at Mississinewa. They passed for 657 yards this year
Not a lot.
and 4 touchdowns. They've run for 3,103 yards and 52 touchdowns.
That's a lot.
I haven't seen them in terms of film, but I'm guessing they like to run the football.
Yeah.
That's been Mississinewa's MO in the past. It looks even more so this year, and they're having more success. So if you're East Noble, they kind of corralled Peyton Wall last week. I think he had 94 yards, and their only touchdown did come on the ground for Leo. But you feel pretty good about bottling up Jackson Barber and that Leo running game with Peyton Wall in that game, heading into a game where this team, although they may take it to another level, is built around the ground game.
Here's how I feel about run-dominated teams, is I think you and I have been around long enough and seen enough state championship caliber football that a one-dimensional offense only takes you so far. Mm-hmm. You have to be really, really, really good at something, running the football in particular, to win a state championship or get to the state championship game being one-dimensional in this state. So I think it's a detriment to teams like Harrison, like Mississinewa, that don't pass very much because eventually you run up against a team that's going to slow you down. That's going to stop that running attack, and then where are you at? Is East Noble that team? I think that's the question. Going on the road, going to Grant County, I have confidence that East Noble can do it, and I would be worried being a team that is so predominantly one-dimensional because eventually you run up against a team that takes that away, and then you have to use your other abilities, your other assets to win games. I don't think Mississinewa has enough if East Noble shuts that run game down.
When you take a look at the brackets in 4A, East Noble came in ranked 2nd in the state in the AP poll, and the #1 team last week got beat by the #3 team down in Evansville. So East Noble is just mathematically the #1 team standing, the #1 team left in terms of the poll. They can't overlook Mississinewa this week, though, just because they play in a conference that isn't as good, perhaps, as the Northeast 8. And, they can't look down the road and say, okay, like, we're the favorite maybe to win the 4A state title. No, they have a challenge ahead of them. They have to take care of business this Friday.
They do, and I feel maybe in a way the monkey's off their back in terms of winning a sectional championship for the first time since 2003. I felt there was a lot of pressure on this team to at least end that streak. Now I think maybe they can play a little bit freer if that's possible because this team plays loose because they got that sectional championship in their back pocket. So maybe they come out playing a little bit looser football because, man, they don't have to worry about that sectional that's kind of been looming as everybody expected them to win.